Welcome to E-volution, the channel about electric cars from a different perspective. My name is Andre Lawrence, and why would a major manufacturer design an advanced electric vehicle with something that's missing in the back and it's a major design flaw that affects the rear end of the car? How is it that the sister company designs a very similar electric vehicle with the same design choice that doesn't have this problem? What exactly is the problem? Are there any solutions? And why do I have a Tesla Model S Plaid with me? Well, if you want to find out, stick around, I'll show you in a few seconds. Designing any car, let alone an electric car, is a complicated thing that involves a lot of smart people and a ton of work. Things like the battery packs, the motors, the electronics, the software that goes with them are all very complicated things. Other things are a lot more simple and common sense, and you would think that you wouldn't have to give them a second thought. Things like the rear wiper. Back in 2021, Hyundai released the Ioniq 5 without a rear wiper, and even went as far as to claim that it was okay because of the design of this rear spoiler and these little holes that allow the wind to protect it. Well, I'm no scientist, and there are a lot smarter people than me that could explain fluid dynamics, but let me tell you why that claim is not right. When you drive the Ioniq 5 down the road, what happens is that the air wants to stick to it. Now, the air coming over the body of the car, through the spoiler, down over the window, over the back, over the sides, and then gets to the bottom, and at the right back portion of this car, nothing left to stick to, it breaks. Now, when the wind breaks or the air breaks, it causes a spiral and it causes turbulence, and that turbulence throws dirt or snow or whatever's on the road onto the rear window because, well, there's nothing to prevent it from doing that. And because you've got no rear wiper, the rear window gets dirty. Now, there are lots of Facebook groups and forums for the Ioniq 5 that have a lot of people complaining about this problem, so it's not just anecdotal, it's something that actually happens and is a problem for a lot of people. Now, in Facebook groups or forums for the EV6, there are some people that haven't bought the car and are asking the question if it's a problem for the EV6 as well, and some people who don't own it claim that it should be because, well, the EV6 doesn't have a rear wiper either. But that's not true, and let me show you why. How is it that the EV6 doesn't have the same problem as the Ioniq 5 for the rear window, even though it's got no rear wiper as well? Well, other than the fact that I've owned this car for 2.5 years and 89,000 kilometers, and I've never had to clean my rear window, it's from the fact that this car is designed more like a sedan. Now, that's where that Tesla Model S, and it's a Plaid, comes in. It's a really nice set piece, but it's a sedan that shows you the way the back of the car is designed and is very similar to the EV6. Now, it's got this nice sloped rear window, you've got a little bit of a flat ledge, and then you've got this spoiler which has this nice little curve and a vertical surface. What that means is that when the wind comes over this, it breaks differently. Let me show you what I mean. This is once again an oversimplification of things, but you've seen it on the Ioniq 5, so how is the EV6 different in terms of the airflow? Now, like I said, the back of this car is designed much like the Tesla Model S and the Model 3, and the break point for the wind isn't at the bottom of the bumper and having everything kick back. When the wind flows down over the car and over the sides and hits this rear spoiler, getting to this vertical surface, you'll notice that there's this curve, so when the wind gets down here and breaks, it kicks up behind the car as opposed to behind the window. That makes a massive difference, and in the time that I've had this car, I've never had to clean the rear window. It's not a problem. So it's all down to the way the rear of this car is designed, much more like a sedan than a real hatchback. Fortunately for 2025, Hyundai's realized they've made a mistake and they've added a rear wiper to the car. That means if you order the car for next year, you'll get the rear wiper on your 2025 model year. Now, the Hyundai Ioniq 5N already has the rear wiper on it because, well, they realized that same mistake, and before they started delivering the $83,000 Canadian car, they figured a rear wiper might be a good idea. Now, what happens if you own a 2024 like this one? Well, there are a couple things you can do. The first thing you could do is to do some sort of hydrophobic treatment, like a ceramic coat, or you could use Aquapel or Rain-X or whatever your product of choice is, and that'll mitigate the problem. It won't eliminate it, but it'll help a little bit. Something else that came up as an idea from David, who's actually a really smart guy as well, is he said, has anybody tried to put a rear spoiler on this to cause the break point to be here, much like on the EV6? I haven't seen that. I have no idea. If you've seen somebody do that, put it in the comment section below. I'd be curious to see pictures or read an article about it, because I think that's a fantastic idea, and I think it'll look pretty cool if it had a rear spoiler. Something else that I saw recently was an article from Motor Trend that actually talked about a Swiss engineer who owns an Ioniq 5 that doesn't have a rear wiper, and he was frustrated about it and decided to do something about it. Now, being an engineer and a tinkerer, as the article states, and I'll have a link for that article down in the description below, he decided to design and invent a product called the Gecko Wiper. Now, the Gecko Wiper has a dual function method of sticking to the car and has a magnet inside. It's actually really an interesting design, and I'd be curious to see it in person, something that I'd love to review. Now, with that being said, it is a Kickstarter program, and that means that they're not delivering yet, but it looks really promising, and being an engineer, he's probably smart enough to pull it off. Now, it isn't cheap. I think it's something like $549, but if it solves the problem for the back of your existing Ioniq 5 and you don't have to change cars just because your rear window is always dirty, well, I think it's a great idea. Would you be interested in seeing my reaction of the acceleration of the Tesla Model S Plaid mode? If yes, put it in the comment section below, and I'll ask my friend if he'd be willing to make a video with us. I'm pretty sure he'd say yes. That way I'll know what it's like as compared to my EV6, and I know it's a whole other level of acceleration. Now, speaking of my friend, I want to give him a shout out. I want to thank him for lending me his Tesla Model S Plaid that is actually quite new. He's got a company called MaCapuche. I've actually made a couple of videos of his products. They're actually charge port covers, so if you have an electric car and you charge your car outside in the winter, he's got covers designed for a huge variety of models, and you can see that on his website. I'll have links in the description below. And I also want to give a huge shout out to Seray Hyundai, which is a dealer not far from my place, that lent me this brand new Ioniq 5 so that we could make this video. So thanks to Seray Hyundai. I will have a link to their site down below as well. Now, with that being said, if you like this video, please consider clicking on that like button, because that tells the YouTube algorithm that the video is worth sharing and lets other people see it and they can learn about electric cars. If you really like the video, then the subscribe button, well, it makes us happy, but it's not just a question of making us happy. Having more subscribers means that more manufacturers will be more interested in lending us cars. So not just Hyundai and Kia and Genesis and other cars from Ford and Polestar and GM and you name it, Rivian. It's important for us to be able to answer your questions, to have access to these vehicles, and your subscription helps us do that. So if you've already subscribed, thank you very much. We've broken 15,000 subscribers. It's actually mind-blowing, and I really appreciate it. Both of us, David and I, really appreciate you subscribing, and we have a personal goal of 20,000 subscribers. If you haven't subscribed and you've enjoyed this video or other videos that we've made, then please click on that subscribe button. It'll help us get to that 20,000 goal, and it'll help manufacturers take us with a little bit more credibility. So with that being said, thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video. We really appreciate it. Lawrence, and why would a major manufacturer design an advanced electric car with a major design flaw that affects the... Welcome to evolution! Is that happy enough? Problem caused by what's missing? And why do I have a Tesla Model S? The same design choice has not got the problem. Back in 2021, Hyundai released the rear wiper. They released a rear wiper with no car. Back in 2020. It's when you're in a rush. Smarter people than me that explain fluid dynamics. That means that the air causes turbulence in the back, which and spirals and shit all over the car. I want to preface this segment with some meat and potatoes, because my brain isn't working right now. Future segments about this portion of the when you're pushing a giant brick like this through wind, the mother fracker, or in a dirty road, mother. That means that giant mother frackin' truck ruined the 900th take. That has to be done all over. EV6 is design like a design. The Ioniq 5. Now, if you've got an Ioniq 5N that you've been receiving, or you've been receiving it, you've already received it, and you haven't been receiving it, you've already received it, and blah, 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 blah.